that's one of the hard things that we're working through right now. We have some very, very deep roots of staff that have stepped up to the plate, that acknowledge this space, that acknowledge the growth inside of the company and outside of the company, within their families, within their relationships, within their friends, within the way they interact. And that's something that is so beautiful about the coaching with you, is going back through and digging deep on kind of the revolving door that has happened, because we hold the exact same standard across the board. And we have had some pretty big heartbreaks because we are kind of digging deep on all of these things.
This is The Growth Moment with your coach, Amy Kay. Inspiration, ideas, and incredible insights for you to be more and do more. Get ready to grow today. As a coach, I often have the privilege of partnering with a client in conceiving something big, being right there at the beginning. I've partnered on new businesses, career leaps, relationships, education upgrades, creative endeavors from books to TV shows to art exhibits, and even new humans. The vision and plan for conceiving a child. And as you will hear with my guest, Sean, a movement to transform the world. Sean Steinman is a rare human with an extraordinary purpose and vision. Founder and CEO of Resonance Ventures, a Salt Lake-based real estate development company creating spaces that allow human beings to eat, live, work, and breathe. When we started the session, I asked Sean where he wants to grow, stretch, and push. He responded that he wants to coach on leading, self-reflection, and growth, with his desire to grow both his businesses and grow the humans, from the $15 an hour employee to the highest earners, from inside his various companies, but also sparking a larger movement in the world. Bottom line, this coaching is all about an opportunity to level up his leadership and impact on the world. Normally, we're all just so freaking busy running something, doing all the tasks, getting shit done. Coaching provides the space to take time to step back, move into your vision, purpose, the impact you really want to have, and the why behind it. It's your bigger agenda beyond the day-to-day. This episode is a giant self-reflection moment for Sean. He's a big thinker, and we dive into a lot of areas, totally digging deep. What I want for you is to listen at two levels. Enjoy all of Sean's inspiring philosophy and thoughts, but most importantly, think about where you need to dig deep. Where are you craving space and encouragement to conceive something new? Listen for the questions I ask. Grab ones that you need to ask yourself. I dearly hope I'm partnering with you right now to conceive something big. We jump in as Sean clarifies where we're starting.
I think that is a place of coaching that I would like to kind of dig into, just with the overall leadership of kind of the bulk of the world. My own individual companies, which is also into some other, I think this is something that is
bigger endeavors. Yeah.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
So a couple of things hit me is one, that meeting each person, each human where they are. So I'm really hearing that. As you said, what are their individual hurts, their needs, their goals, and not judging what they should or shouldn't, where they should be in a sense. Why is this a leadership area for you? What's the gap or the opportunity here for you to uplevel your leadership?
The main reason that there would be a gap in this, and as we're talking through it, it is kind of creating a space of, and I think it goes back to a lot of what our previous coaching has been, but going back to a space of grace for the leaders that I have empowered to step into that space to then lead those people as well, and then maybe going into that trust factor that goes into place as well. That trust that that is happening in the same way that it would be happening if I were the one directly doing that and directly leading them. So I think it's more of kind of a multi-level leadership aspect of creating that space. And what questions do I need to ask my leaders to operate and give the same amount of grace that I am also giving when I'm having these conversations? Because that is, I think, at the end of the day, the big thing for me is trusting that that is what's going to happen, trusting that that is going to be perpetuated through the companies, perpetuated through themselves, and then hopefully create growth moments for them as well as a leader. So I think it's more so of a trust within leadership without enabling in the leadership.
And so, what I hear there is that you are wanting to empower not just all of the employees in the various businesses, but to empower a next level of leadership across the entities and really knowing you across the world of a self-reflective, know yourself, and then be able to empower others from that knowledge.
Absolutely.
So, self-reflection. What is the best self-reflection? What do you have to teach others about the role of self-reflection?
In self reflection, the interesting thing of self reflection, you have to now kind of break down those two words. You have to break down self and then of course reflection. And I think reflection's easier to be able to break down. Reflection, you can basically just look at a mirror. You are now looking at all of your qualities, you're looking at all of your beauty, you're looking at all of your pain, you're looking at all of your abundance, you're looking at all of your scarcity. And when you're looking at a mirror, it's hard to hide from that. So that is reflection. So we don't really need to spend much time on reflection, but looking at self, you have to really dig deep. And I think that that is one of the biggest factors for me that I'm continuing to come to the realization of is people are in so much pain because of self. And they're in this pain because of their self, because of their limiting beliefs, because of their past, because of their fear for the future, because of their fear for what's happening right now. And if they actually look at self, and it doesn't matter if you're Christian or Buddhist or Muslim or Jewish or any of these things, I think self has a universal definition. And it's just defining that, because if you're just a state of consciousness and you don't hear or see, self is still the same thing as what you're looking at and what you're feeling, you're seeing, you're doing, you're building upon. And that is, I think, the big thing for me is being able to have and empower to really look in deep at self and then love self.
Because what does that light up or what does that make possible if the self-reflection isn't just inventory of faults, or areas to improve? What are you hoping you and others in leadership positions get out of self-reflection?
I truly believe that my hope and self reflection on this is going to be digging deep on where self comes from. And that is, I think, one of the most interesting questions to ask, because where does self come from? You have to kind of go through a lot of different stages of what self is. And self comes from first. I mean, if you look at it from a physiological standpoint, it comes from your mother.
Mm.
And your mother, that is, yourself is coming from your mother and your father, but your mother for a very extended period of unconditional love time. You know, you're not necessarily breathing, you're not taking breath in your mother. You are a part of your mother. So I think that that's where it's a very valuable place to be.
So, what I'm hearing there is this, as opposed to self navel gazing, being just this solo, I am just me, I'm the only thing that matters.
Hmm.
You're talking about a deep dive, a dig deep into self to realize the connection.
Absolutely, because you have to know where you came from to know where you're going.
So, Sean, with leadership, why does it matter to know where you've come from? Why do you want your leaders to not only just know themselves, but I'm hearing to feel then the connection to others? Why does it matter? Why do you care?
Yeah, great question. I think it is the building blocks on life. It is the foundation of ourselves and our companies because we're getting so distracted by we're getting so distracted by everything else, getting so distracted by the materials, by net worth, by things, by sex, drugs, whatever it is that is creating this space. We're getting distracted and we're not getting into a place of that self-reflection. We're not getting into a place of actually knowing who we are as a human being to then be able to care for other human beings, which is the foundation of what life should be about.
Geez, hear that. Is that this whole self reflection in leadership is all, if I'm hearing you right, and you push back if I'm not, a means to an end in a sense of love and grace and space and connection.
Absolutely. I think that is the biggest foundation that we have to work with here. And I don't think that leaders are leading in this way. And I know that I catch myself leading in other ways, and I catch myself leading in this way. And leading in this way doesn't mean that everything's butterflies.
Yeah, because you mentioned before about the enabling piece. So what doesn't it mean?
Yeah, no, it doesn't mean that it's easy. It doesn't mean that leading is easy and everything is good all the time. It actually, it's kind of the flip side because we are taking a compounding, we're taking a collective of people and all of the different compounding pains of these people. And this could be from when they were 3 years old to when they were 16 years old to when they were 25 years old to when they were 50 years old. We're taking all these different pains and we're now having to say thank you for those pains and be grateful for those pains. Because if we say thank you to those pains and be grateful for those pains, we can grow from that. But if we say, that is just who I am and that is what is defining ourselves, that is where it becomes an issue because then it's an excuse. And then we don't grow from it in that self-reflection. So when we look at it, we're seeing that scarcity. We're seeing those scars. We're seeing that and we're saying, "Oh my gosh, like that was the past and now we're defining ourselves by the past. We're not defining ourselves by that present moment."
So you've got this radical idea of work, leadership, companies, that money is made and people are paid. And all these real things that businesses need to do happen and are important. But you're also saying, yeah, but I welcome the whole human. I want everyone to step up and know themselves, deal with themselves, and not only that, deal with others, and yet somehow still be productive and effective and efficient.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's progress in the external world while you're also present and progressing in yourself and in your internal world. It's so to then be able to grow.
So when they talk about triple bottom line in more, conscious capitalism and different pieces, Sean Steinman is adding a whole nother bottom line measure.
I'm working on it.
So how would you measure that one? What is that fourth bottom line? Like I said, this coaching session is one giant self-reflection. Feel how much space there is, the encouragement, permission to just explore, teasing it out, mucking around. This is what digging deep requires. Notice that I'm doing a lot of repeating and clarifying. What I hear is getting Sean to continue to hone in on what he thinks and believes. He has the room to chisel it down, refine it, mold his ideas and thoughts. God, where do you need that kind of interest and encouragement to give your emerging bigger purpose or project or goal that much attention? When could you schedule some digging deep time? Who would you do that with? What might happen if you took yourself and the impact you want to have that seriously? And check out the questions I asked. What's the opportunity here? What do you want? Why does it matter? And what does that light up or make possible? These are digging deep questions, the kind that help you move beyond the surface and create radical impact. Sean's radical impact is going beyond even the aspirational triple bottom line of profits, people, and planets to an emerging fourth bottom line. We come back in after I asked Sean how he would measure that fourth bottom line.
The fourth bottom line is incredibly difficult to measure. It would be a study of interaction, and it's a study of interaction and a study of trust and a study of
Connection, like how connected do you feel in this company?
oh, absolutely.
How much have you grown as a human in this company?
And that's one of the hard things that we're working through right now is we have some very, very deep roots of staff that have stepped up to the plate, that acknowledge this space, that acknowledge the growth inside of the company and outside of the company, within their families, within their relationships, within their friends, within the way they interact.
Oh, mm-hmm.
And then and that's something that is so beautiful about the coaching with you is going back through and digging deep on kind of the revolving door that has happened because we hold the exact same standard across the board.
What is the promise and also what is the promises made on both sides of, to enter into this kind of high growth space?
Yeah, that's a really good question. And that's something that we're refining on many, many different levels. We're refining it on that level of, kind of that growth area of minimum wage earners to high wage earners. And, there's very clearly different growth trajectories on both. For me, it comes down to how do we now take high wage earners and allow them to grow now that they have a lot of materials? How do we grow within our spirit? How do we grow and create more presence? And these are just questions. These are just areas that we just, spend a lot of time on business, but then also like, hey, here's something that I'm working through. This is something that I think that would be very valuable for us all to work through. And because it's going to affect the end result, how we interact with our next meeting, how we interact with the people that we're engaged with our projects. So, we're working on that space to create that promise where, hey, there is potential. And the biggest thing is I want to be able to tap into that potential and ask those questions. And if they're with our company in the next 5 years or not, I hope that they learn from whatever they've done within our company today and go and start a company, go and lead that company.
Yeah, because you're really planting seeds of self reflection, growth, grace, space, trust, all these words that you've used. You're planting the capacity for someone to dig deep.
But I think the main thing is if they can now reflect, because it comes down to that self-reflection to know what do they actually want and why.
Oh, that why.
I think that is the huge factor.
So, where do you want to take this? Is it into, all right, so what does that next level of self reflection and digging deep look like in training your leaders? Or is it pieces that you are rolling out to everybody? Or is it just what's popping up now, Sean, out of this leading self reflection growth?
Yeah, I think it is more time with the leaders to be able to concisely guide this space and guide this space in the ups and downs, the ebbs and flows of life. that is, I think, one of the biggest factors is how can we now have the leaders be guiding in this way and kind of create this space of guidance and also not allow their egos to get in the way of how they are guiding because there shouldn't be scarcity in this.
Mm.
Like my goal
Hmm.
is for any of the leaders within the space to train and teach the others to be better than them. And that is the goal. So if you're going into it to make it so that they are better than them, and that has been my goal for myself is like all of my leaders, I want them to be better than me in the space that I'm empowering.
Yeah, this is a fundamental put your ego down on the chair. Like you can't lead. So again, the self-reflection is not navel gazing. It's not getting all caught up in yourself. It is all in order to connect and inspire and grow.
Absolutely.
I just wonder, is there a, I don't know, like a self reflection guide or process or structure or something that you're playing with or want to play with to make this more tangible? Notice how we're starting to bring everything into focus, guiding the long, slow circling and deepening of thought and moving towards where are you taking this? Coaching is never just talking about something. The other half is doing something, getting to the point of it all. But there has to be room for the circling first, the brainstorming. For you, it might be talking about your ideas, dreams, philosophy on life, love, business with another person or a group. Or it might be journaling, writing out a business plan or a personal manifesto. But perhaps it's beyond words. You need to draw it, visualize it, build a prototype, act, dance it out. There are so many ways to dig deep. And keep asking the question, where are you taking this? Or where do you want to take this? That's the question that helps crystallize and focus. If you have something brewing inside you, you have a dream, I just want you to engage. Commit to the process of diving into that vision sooner rather than later. Let's go back to Sean as we ground his lofty vision into action after I ask, is there something to make this more tangible?
There is. There is. And it's really hard because, I mean, this is applicable like inside business, outside business, inside family, outside family.
And is this the book, Sean, or is this this whole topic, this whole philosophy?
Yeah. Yeah. I think the only issue is you have to get to the end of the book every time, or else it's going to be a really depressing book. Because, I mean, on the other side of it is beauty, but it's constant growth.
So, how can you best, if you are living at your highest purpose, how can you best teach and pass this on?
You know, I think a book would be a great space to go into, which you and I have talked about jumping into that a little bit. Digging into the book and being able to concisely go about this. I think
Mhm.
audio video would be probably more effective.
All right, so let's take off labels. So whatever form the teaching takes, so picture it, feel it, let it come in right now. What is the form that you're seeing intuitively?
Yeah, I think it would be in the audio video space. And then, of course, the label of that is podcast or, you know, interviews or, whatever that is.
What else is coming up? If you're wide open.
I think right now the biggest thing is continuing to refine it with our immediate foundational leaders. So we have an incredible case study of this
Mhm.
and building that case study for myself for everyone else, and it's building that case study internally
Yeah.
within the companies and building the case study externally, with the communities that we're working with the space that we're in, but then also in the family. And I think that's one of the big things is continuing to refine it within the family space so that my kids.
You guys are living it. You're not the, "Oh, yeah, they so don't walk their talk."
Totally, totally. And I think that's a huge factor.
So, Sean, What does building the case study look like? What are you actually going to do in the coming weeks?
Yeah, I think in the coming weeks, it is a space of continuous reflection of this, reflection conversations of, the leaders that are, in the front lines here, continuing to refine that within the family space as well, which I think is a huge factor, and that's something that is so beautiful because, the kids are going out and doing these same things. So it's continuing to refine and ask those questions, and then measure it based on, areas of adversity and also areas of abundance.
So would you somehow measure the valleys and the mountains and, have those questions be more explicit? Or so don't let me push you into something too tangible if it needs to be somewhat amorphous and to keep your feet on the ground.
Well, I think that tangible is, yeah, I think tangible is huge. I think tangible allows for repeatability.
So Sean, if I'm going to make this super tangible, will you, I know you've got probably drafts of this, but take another round on the questions so that you've got a tool, you've got something that you're going to use in this case study that can be more explicit for the leaders around you, the people around you to go,
Yeah.
because this is so embedded in you. And now you're trying to extrapolate it out of you and put it into the world. So, yes, no counteroffer. Will you do the questions?
Yeah, I will absolutely do questions on this.
All right. So if we pull this back, we started out with you said, I want to work around the area of leading, self reflection, and growth. And then we had a lot of great words of digging deep and grace and trust and space and love and connection, internal, external, family. What are you now seeing and walking away with?
Uh, Constant sharpening of my own sword in this space. I think that's the biggest factor.
Sean is such a big thinker. He is a visionary. It's part of his wiring. Sometimes when you're that big of a thinker, it's hard to keep your feet on the ground. I kept pulling Sean back into what's the very next step? Okay, you want to build a case study. What does that look like? What will you actually do to build the case study? Okay, you need to create the questions then. What's the very next step to develop and refine the questions? And so on. The boiling down until you get to the this is what you will do today, tomorrow, this week. This bias towards action is a non negotiable component in coaching. Not just feet on the ground, but holding the feet to the fire. Sean walked away with a commitment to sending me the questions to roll out his big leadership and reflection case study. Momentum. You know what I'm going to ask you now. What is your very next step in conceiving and building your vision, your dream, what you are here to be and do in this world? I want you to boil it down until you have a crystal clear action and a due date. It might be as simple as setting a day and time for your own digging deep session. Whatever you're dreaming up, the world needs you to go forward. We need what you uniquely have to offer. I think this is the third or fourth episode around creating space for your dreams, leaning into your possibilities, and listening to yourself. That's because we humans are built to grow, to evolve, to become more. And that's what I'm here for, to help as many humans to reach their full potential as possible. If you need a partner to help you dig deep, I'm your coach. Anytime, anywhere. Nothing could be more important. Always feel free to contact me for your own growth moment. One-on-one private coaching or try one of my coaching groups. Go to thegrowthmoment.com for the latest and greatest. And remember to subscribe, follow on your favorite podcast app. Now get out there and grow today.